You ever wonder what happens when the person who buried you alive shows up for coffee one morning, and you're the one holding the shovel? Yeah, me neither until it happened to my buddy Ellie Harlan, back in the sticky heat of a North Carolina summer, right there on the sniper range at Fort Bragg. She'd rolled up in her beat-up Ford pickup, dust kicking up like old regrets, hauling this relic of an M1 Garand slung over her shoulder, the kind of rifle your grandpa might have used to bag deer in 45, all scarred wood and iron sights that looked like they'd seen more foxholes than a fox. And her face, man, half of it twisted like melted candle wax from burns that don't fade, even after 15 years of hiding in the hills. Sergeant Kyle Branson, this puffed-up drill with a chip on his shoulder bigger than his beer gut, spots her and loses his damn mind, starts hollering, "Get that junkyard antique off my range before it backfires," and takes your good eye with it. The other grunts snicker, turning it into a sideshow, because nothing says tough guy like picking on a woman who looks like she crawled out of a bad dream. But Ellie's not flinching, not even a twitch. She just sets down her case slow, like she's handling a sleeping rattler, pulls out her civilian pass with fingers that don't shake, and says, quiet as a confessional, "I've got clearance, and I'd like to shoot." Branson snatches it, lets it drop in the dirt like trash, and leans in close, breath reeking of stale donuts and entitlement. "Lady, this ain't a yard sale. That relic's a hazard. Pack it up and hike your scars back to whatever trailer park you crawled from." Oh, he thought he had her pegged, some wannabe widow chasing ghosts. But inside, Ellie's gut was churning like a storm over the Atlantic. 15 years since Fallujah, since that night in 10 when her team's world went white-hot from a phosphorus barrage she drew off to save the others. And Branson? He was the one who sold the cords for a fat stack, left her smoldering in that alley while he cashed checks back at base. She drove 800 miles from her holler in West Virginia just to stare him down, not for blood, but for the truth that had been eating her alive like those burns still itched on rainy days. Branson's barking orders now, crowds swelling like vultures at a roadkill, but Ellie's already kneeling, popping the case with hands that remember every chamber. Every pull 4 counts in, hold 7, out 8. That sniper's breath turning her from broken to unbreakable. "One mag," she says, eyes locking his like she's sighting a scope. 5 rounds. Then I'm gone. He laughs, but it's hollow, rubbing that faded tattoo on his wrist like it's a lucky charm gone sour. "Fine, Grandma. Hit paper at 250, or you're banned for life." She drops prone, cheek welding to the stock warm as an old lover's whisper, ignores the wind flags flapping like bad omens, reads the grass instead. 10 miles an hour southwest, but a sweet spot dead calm at the halfway mark. Gotta thread it like a needle in a haystorm. First shot cracks the air like God's own thunder, echoes bouncing off the pines, and the spotter blinks dead center, hole punching the bullseye clean. Branson mutters fluke, but his voice wobbles, and Ellie's mind flashes back, not to glory, but the ache. How she'd clawed out of that inferno, skin sloughing like wet paper, whispering promises to the ghosts of her squad while medevac rotors chopped the night. Second shot threads the same hole. Third enlarges it by a hair. Fourth carves poetry from lead. And by 5, one ragged scar in the target, 250 yards, iron sights on a rifle older than his daddy's regrets. The range goes church quiet, jaw slack, and Branson's face drains to milk, steps up snarling. "Lucky punk shots. Prove it at 500, or admit you're faking it with blanks." Ellie's rising slow, rifle low ready like it's breathing with her. And in that beat, she sees it in his eyes, the flicker, the what the hell recognition, because deep down, he knows. This ain't no grandma. This is Ellie Harlan, the Iron Widow they wrote off as Kia, the one who held that rooftop alone for 4 hours while her burns screamed louder than incoming rounds. 500 it is, she says, voice smoke thick with that Appalachian drawl she never lost. Same target. Watch close, Kyle. Wouldn't want you to miss the show. They reset the line, wind kicking up mean now, gusts shoving at 20, the kind that'd wander a modern round off course by a county. But Ellie's not glancing at the anemometer, feeling it, gut level, like the desert winds that whispered enemy positions back in the day. Prone again, world narrowing to breath and break. She squeezes off the first impact, calls clean, center mass, and the spotters whoop like it's the Super Bowl. 4 more follow, mechanical as heartbeat, punching that same impossible knot. And when she stands, the target's got a spike hole like she drove a railroad nail through hell. Branson's crumbling, hand twitching to his sidearm. You're supposed to be dead, Ellie. Fallujah. We saw the report. Burns, no recovery. I made sure of it. The words hang like smoke, and suddenly the crowd's not laughing. They're leaning in, phones out, because how does a sergeant know the intimate guts of a classified op? Ellie's scarred hand flexes, pulling off her glove to show the roadmap of white-pink fury snaking up her arm, 70% Kyle. Full thickness. They said I'd never grip a trigger again, let alone a life. But you? You changed the SatLink Frex 12 hours out, fed, MRLZ for $2 million wired to your offshore account. While I burned drawing fire for Thompson, Ruiz, and Hayes the three, you left breathing, so the story wouldn't stink too bad. You were safe at FOB, counting blood money. She holds up the faded printout, his signature black as sin, and the MPs melt from the edges, rifles up, because betrayal like that, it don't just break the code, it shatters the whole damn oath. Branson's babbling now, sweat sheening his brow. They'll kill me if I talk. Ellie, the buyers, the brass who greenlit it all. It was just a gig, a quick flip. I didn't know it'd go phosphorus. But she's already turning, voice dropping low and lethal. You knew enough to run, Kyle. That's why I'm here, not to end you, but to make sure everyone knows what a hero you ain't. Colonel Harlan, yeah, my old CO, no relation, but fate's got a sense of humor. Steps in, tablet glowing with the wire transfers. And it's over. Cuffs click. Branson's dragged off, whimpering apologies that bounce off her like rain on tin. While Private Lena Torres, Ruiz's little sister, who'd shown up chasing ghosts of her own, rushes up, tears streaking. My brother. He carried that dumb harmonica, played it to keep us sane. Did he? Ellie's face cracks, just a hair, scarred cheeks softening. He played, till the end, Lena. Made me swear to tell you he went out laughing. Lie or not, it's the one that matters. But here's where it twists. Folks like those old pulp novels where the villain's just the appetizer, because as the dust settles, three shadows peel from the tree line. Thompson, Ruiz's old radio man turned major. Hayes, the demo kid now a ghost in the intel game. And Ellis, the medic who'd stitched her up in that field hospital before she vanished. AMA. They'd been tailing her for 15 years, trading shifts like it was their penance, piecing together whispers of impossible groups at podunk ranges from Kentucky to Carolina. We knew you weren't gone, Thompson says, voice gravel from too many smokes and secrets, clapping her shoulder gentle, as if she's still bandaged. Hospital logs don't lie. And those shots you've been dropping? Like signatures. Every range you hit, another thread in the web unraveled. Contractors, fixers, even a couple bird colonels skimming off arms deals to the insurgents. Ellie's gut flips, because yeah, her holler cabin's wallpapered in that mess, maps pinned with red yarn, bank stubs from Cayman shells, photos of the suits who bought Kyle's leaks. She thought she was just surviving, zeroing that Garen to keep the nightmares at bay, but now they clock it as the sharpest off-books op since Watergate. Her scar's the price tag on a vendetta that mapped a whole shadow economy of dead GIs turned profit margins. Deputy Director Reyes rolls up in her unmarked Tahoe, tablet out showing dots from sea to shining sea. You've been ghost hunting solo, Harlan, but the buyers? They're the real wolves. 3 stars, a SecNav advisor, all tangled in a pipeline funneling stingers to bad actors. Kyle was the grunt valve. They turned the spigot. And just like that, the hook sinks deeper. Masoner, Branson gets suicided in lockup that night. 2 more witnesses clipped in car wrecks by dawn, and Reyes leans in, eyes like chipped flint. They're spooked, holing up tonight at some backwoods lodge in the Smokies. Decode this chatter, and we end it. Ellie's fingers dance over the screen, cracking an old Norwegian cipher her pops drilled into her as a kid. Boom, grid pops. A fat cat retreat with its own helipad, defensible as a tick on a hound. My old man trusted that admiral once, shared codes over aquavit like brothers in arms, she mutters, bitter laugh bubbling up. Guess trust's just another word for leverage. Choppers thump low over the ridges that dusk, rotors chewing fog like bad beef, and Ellie's in the lead bird, Garand across her lap, beside a fresh out of the crate Remington 700 old soul for memory, new iron for settling scores. No uniform, just faded Carhartts and that ghost in her eyes. Thompson at her 6 like the old days, whispering, breathe it, ill you got the wind. Breach is poetry in black. Shadows slip perimeters. Zip ties whisper on mercs too pricey to scream. And they ghost the great hall where the suits huddle, maps and ledgers splayed like a guilty spread. Doors kick wide, federal beef. Gentleman hands high, or we paint the pine paneling. Freeze frame pandemonium. The Admiral, that silver fox with Kyle's blood on his cufflinks, spots her first face crumpling like wet newsprint. Harlan? Christ, the burns. You're the Fallujah phantom. Report, said vaporized. She steps into the lamplight, scarred half catching the glow like a warning flare. Reports lie when the byline's bought, sir. You turned my team's last stand into a yard sale stingers for your Swiss accounts, while I burned to buy Hayes' ticket home. He stammers, veins popping. It was policy, girl, necessary losses for the big play. But she's already nodding to the TAC team, cuffs ratcheting like Judgment Day. And as they haul him out whimpering about legacies and deniability, Ellie's gaze snags on a framed shot on the mantel. Her pops, young and grinning, arm around that same Admiral at some NATO shindig. He called you friend, she says, voice a blade wrapped in velvet. Taught you our tricks thinking it'd bind us tighter. You made it a noose. The raid wraps clean 12 collars, terabytes of dirt. The pipeline choked before another kid like Torres's brother buys the farmman out under the stars. Thompson finds her on a stump, rifles propped like sentinels, passing a flask of something peaty. Hard part's done, he says, but she shakes her head slow, tracing a scar that itches phantom hot. Nah, Tommy. Justice? It's a leak in the damn plug one, another springs. These suits go down, but the game's rigged deeper, always will be. Question is, do you keep patching? Or burn the whole damn thing? He chuckles low, wisecracking with that Garand? You'd need a bigger clip, but her eyes go distant, weighing the weight of it all, the burn that forged her, the betrayal that freed her, the truth that tastes like ash and honey. 6 months grind by, trials chewing through DC like a wood chipper on steroids, 40-plus convictions, headlines screaming, ghost busts brass, and Ellie's out the courthouse last time, air crisp with fall bite. Thompson and the boys waiting curbside like a reunion tour nobody asked for. She flashes that Danish envelope from her Maya. Norwegian roots run deep. Pop's old Mauser waiting in Oslo like a prodigal's welcome. Home first, boys. Teach the young bloods how to sniff the rot before it festers. They part with backslaps and half-promises. Her climbing aboard with both rifles. The M1 whispering of what was. The REM of what's next. As the tarmac falls away, phone pings. Skies clear over the fjords. Your shot's true. Daughter, come claim it. And for the first time since that alley went nuclear, peace settles, not soft like a blanket, but sharp like a well-oiled bolt. Purpose, not payback, the real reload. But hey, you tell me, when the ghost wins, does the house ever really haunt anymore? Or do we just trade one shadow for another? Drop your take below. Hot's the line between justice and just surviving the bastards? Ever had a betrayal boomerang like that? Or forgiven the unforgivable? Hit like if Ellie's got you rethinking your own scars. Subscribe for more tales from the foxhole that hit too close. And share yours, cause stories like this, they don't end, they echo.